Welcome back to tacosandgeeks.com. Justin and Sean here, and we're back to review Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion. This is episode 3, which is entitled Betrayal. Betrayed. And man, this will be spoilers. We're going to discuss spoilers here. So, Sean, what were your thoughts on this one? I mean, this is slowly becoming my favorite Marvel series on
Yeah, I mean,
Disney Plus.
I called it. I told you that they were gonna finally do a Super Scroll
Yeah,
eventually because what he said in episode 2 was that eventually they would have to start facing off with the Avengers and other superpowered beings.
yeah,
They didn't have an advantage over it. They're not facing the normal aliens with their technology. You're gonna have to face Thor. Even on the lower level, you're gonna have to face Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. Um, who else? Moon Knight is still out there. The
yeah.
Punisher. There are a whole bunch of Doctor Strange. Uh,
Mhm.
there are a whole bunch of heroes that are still out there that they would have to face. That they would. I mean, if their whole thing was they were just going to face Hawkeye and people like that, that wouldn't make any sense.
No,
So it's coming along with the Marvel comics. I mean, I'm starting to think uh they will, when they do introduce the Fantastic Four, they will have like one of the Super Scrolls will be around because that was a big thing in the Fantastic Four comic book.
yeah.
That
It
one of
was
the Super Scrolls mimics all their powers and goes after them. So I'm it's this episode was pretty intense because like everybody is betraying everybody
yeah.
in this episode. Like there's just you don't know who's who, who's friends with who, who's really loyal to who. Hell, even Nick's wife, you can't even say she's loyal to him. But you
Yeah.
know what? Again, for good reason, because like she said, I got when you first were gone, I had to learn to live without you because it wasn't your fault. But the
Hmm.
second time, that was your fault.
Yeah. You left by
Yeah, you
choice.
yeah, and I had to become, and he said, well, what happened? I became the person you met, the first person he was dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
More and more as these episodes go by, it starts to uh unravel that Nick went through more than what he's saying, and then instead of owning up to it, he's just like, nothing's my fault. Look,
Yeah.
you guys are overreacting to everything. You don't understand that I'm mentally messed up. And it's like he
Mhm.
had a support system,
Yeah, he did.
and this is just my take on everything. Like it's not that my take is absolutely right. I'm just saying from what I'm watching, it just seems like Nick just he had a bad snap. That's what he had, a bad snap. And it seems like people had their issues after the snap, but it seems Nick took it the hardest and he just
Yeah.
like cut everybody off. Like, damn man, you got a wife, bro. What are you do? What are you doing? Like, you just like, nah, I'm out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, yeah, I'm gone.
It's also too, I was talking to a friend about this as well. It could also be the fact that, he kind of does feel responsible for a lot of the things that's happened in the MCU.
Yeah,
Building the Avengers and, the Thanos and this thing, could be some internal guilt that he felt like a lot of the stuff could have been prevented with him being, Shield and being part of that Shield that, there's a lot of responsibility that he takes on, especially with the guilt, the Skrulls being blipped out. And so he is kind of having or carrying so much weight and guilt that, unfortunately, he can't like project that. One thing I really did like about this episode, which kind of gave me a hint, one of the big reveals, is Rhodey being a Skrull, which a lot of people think that I think that was Don Cheadle on the phone at the end. I got to watch it back again to see that it was actually his voice or somebody else. But Fury said something in this episode. He said, "Nobody calls me Nick."
yes,
Now, if you watch the previous episode, War Machine called him Nick.
yes,
So that's a scroll.
yeah. I mean, they're leaving clues for it. I mean,
Yeah.
also one of the other big takeaways from this was the conversation between Talos and Fury in the car ride over to the general's house.
Yeah.
I mean, he said Talos dropped some real truth bombs to Nick,
Yeah,
to him. He said, and I mean, that's I think one of the things that's the best thing about this series is that they're not holding back. It's like they are really peeling the curtain back, and people are just saying what's on their chest.
yeah.
Every Nick included, everybody's just saying like, no, I'm kind of excited in a way because there's not this like we have to be very PC in this episode. Like
Mm,
people are just saying what's on their mind. Like,
yeah,
he said, you act like we did nothing when we got here. He said we were your private army. We
mm,
helped you get into places and get intelligence that you would not have normally got and watched you rise in the ranks to
mm-hmm.
get where you were. And you act like you did this all by yourself.
Yep,
Like you basically he basically had the ultimate like trump card. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? The ultimate joker if you play spades.
mm-hmm.
He had to go. He could basically he had a set of spies that can infiltrate anywhere.
Yeah,
And it was, he became a director, he got this big, and Talos kind of said, like, you act like this was you by yourself.
yeah.
And Nick had to sit down and he kind of had to, rub that on his,
Eat some humble pie.
yeah, rub that on his chest and shut the fuck up. Like you can't sit down and say like I'm not saying he didn't work hard to where he is. Obviously, he had to be very strategic
Yeah,
with what he did, where he was, where to send people, and how to get the information. But you didn't do that by yourself, bro.
definitely
And
did
it's a
not.
lot easier when your agents can shapeshift.
Exactly, 100%.
So
And that's one thing I was like really enjoyed about this episode was the fact that he was eating a lot of humble pie. Like when he
yeah,
was forced to apologize, and he was just like Taylor was like, "Oh, after everything you said yesterday, now you want to come back and ask me for help? Nah, you're gonna have to say I am useless without you."
yep.
Like eat that humble pie. And I also like the fact that the daughter that's I don't think she's dead. She's not dead. I honestly think there was another theory. I forgot what they're called, the androids that Marvel be using. Um and is like the secret invasion, they will use the androids that like the humanoids that they would they're gonna start introducing them to replace certain like they send I can't remember what book it is. Sorry about that, folks, but there's a book where um Marvel characters were using like androids, really disguised as them to do like those missions, like really tough missions, suicidal missions, for them not to like get killed off. I can't remember because someone said I can't remember what they're called.
But I
But
mean, here's another thing. Like, if you ever noticed from episode one with Maria Hill,
yeah,
they're not shooting these people in the head. They're all getting hit in the
and,
stomach, and it looks
and
like it's close to the
to the
center of the
chest.
chest, but it's not. It's in the stomach.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that's a clue to something because like he could have just shot her in the head.
yeah, and be done
And
with it.
yeah, but he shot her into something and she drops and everybody seems to do the same thing. They catch a slug in the stomach and then lay down,
Mm-hmm.
lay there, and then the camera pans away from them and we don't hear from them again. I mean, Maria Hill, she's popped, Fury holds her, he looks down and he just lays there. And the next thing is her body's in the coffin
Yeah,
back in the US. This one, she's popped and he drives off. He doesn't do, we all know you double tap. You go,
exactly.
she's on the ground. You want to make sure she's not going to get back up. You pop her in the head too. And that's it. They just drive off.
Yeah. So
So there's something up with that.
there's a lot, and that's what I'm saying that this is one of my favorite series because there is a lot. It's keeping me guessing, and
It's too
I'm not.
many, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. It's keeping me guessing, and this is the like one of the rare times I'm like, okay, I'm kind of happy you went your own way with it, keeping the same concept of it of the scrolls and the secret invasion, but you went your own way with it in a more espionage way because it does work towards the story they tell in MCU. My thing is this now is if you're going the super scroll route, that's a huge threat. Like that's an Avengers level story. So how you tying this into Secret Wars, Kane, and the rest of them,
I mean,
unless you're gonna put a
it's
pin
easy.
on this to later.
Yeah, it's easy. You do put a pin on it later, and it ties into more than just Secret Wars. It
Yeah.
ties into them being an Avengers level threat.
Yeah.
it also ties into introducing the Fantastic Four. So now you have another, you have another super family in there that could deal with that. And then on top of that, if you're bringing the X-Men in, you now introduce mutants.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, um, I mean, all the stories are starting to come together. I mean, I first said when it came down to the Eternals, even though some people it was 50-50 hit or miss with the Eternals, I liked it.
Mm.
But I said, did people not notice what they were saying in there? If the Eternals are breeding or the Eternals can become human, it's not like the DNA they have, they give up.
Exactly.
So as time goes on, are they breeding the next generation of mutants? You
Mm.
know, even though I'm pretty sure they're probably not going to use the word mutant until they start introducing the X-Men in that world.
Yeah.
But you start breeding the next evolution. There's definitely going to be a tie-in with the Eternals that's going to breed into what Magneto talks about Homo superior. Well, I think I just said it the wrong way, but
Homo superior.
yeah. So you're gonna start having tie-ins to the X gene finally coming out. Somebody's definitely gonna experiment, and you're gonna find if they introduce Mr. Sinister,
Oh,
and
I'm waiting for that.
there's definitely gonna be experiments. The mutant gene is definitely gonna be discovered, and there's so much that Marvel's doing right now. I mean, it's a slow burn. I know for the general audience and people who really don't read comic books, this is like torture because you just want them to get to the point. But for those of us who do read comic books, you understand what the slow burn is. Like
Yeah.
the what you're reading now, comic book page by page and waiting for issues to come out so that you can see like how the story develops and eventually get to the conclusion of the story. If anybody's ever read a comic book, there are some story arcs that go over almost a year, maybe 6 months. Comic books used to come out once a month. So, now they're, with technology, they're once every couple of weeks, and some story arcs go on for almost a year before it ends. I mean, there are other stories going on. That's why there's multiple books for different heroes. Um, but a main story arc can go on for a while, and I think that's
Mm.
what Marvel's doing with this. It's a slow burn. You're introducing everybody. And I mean, if you're gonna do a Secret Wars encompassed heroes and villains.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then this would be the best way to start doing it. I'm pretty sure they're not going to do Secret Wars like the original comic book or even the recent 2010 versions of Secret Wars, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get a version of it that's digestible for comic book fans and for the casual fan. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I once again I'm gonna say this is another episode you should watch. Thumbs up for
Definitely,
this one. It's good. It's really becoming my favorite Marvel show on Disney Plus right now. They're doing a great job.
you know. Definitely, we're gonna, what are we the third episode? We have only have
Yeah.
3 episodes left, which is
Yeah.
kind of a shame. I wish it was maybe another. If it's 6, I wish it was probably 8.
Yeah.
Give us 2 more episodes to this and really like flesh this out. But you take what you can get. You take your drug when you get it. you know,
All right, folks. Thank you for watching us here on the talkersofgeeks.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. What did you think of I was about to say Secret Wars, Secret Invasion episode 3? Comment below, let us know, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later days. Peace.
later.